All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the third and final Ask Me Anything session for the Kessel Run Pitch Day coming up in July. We're just going to get right into things. So all attendees, if you're on the Zoom, have been muted. That's by design. So go ahead and use the chat box. If you can see me here and can't hear me talking, please let us know in the chat box. Otherwise, there is a question and answer tool right built into the Zoom. If you have any content related questions, please use that Q&A tool. So again, chat box just for admin type things, and then the Q&A tool for all the real questions. So to introduce myself, I'm Lorianne Rissler. I'm the contracting officer for this pitch day coming up for Kessel Run in July. And then also leading this afternoon is Matt Brown, who he just dropped off of the Zoom, so I'm not sure where he really went right now. Hopefully it's just a technical glitch and he'll be right back. But Matt is our lead engineer on this project for the Kessel Run Pitch Day as well. All right, looks like Matt is back. Matt, I was just about to hand things over to you to have you introduce yourself.
Sorry about that. I lost Zoom for a second there. Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Brown. I'm the technical POC. I'm also the director of R&D for Kessel, and looking forward to meeting you guys.
All right. So Neil, can we go to the next slide, please? So here's just what we're going over today, just a little bit of background of what Kessel Run is, getting into some of the specifics of what a pitch day event is, and then we'll talk about what we're looking for this specific pitch day event with regards to the technology, and then also discuss what requirements there are for small businesses to be eligible to participate in this. We'll close things up with an overview of the schedule moving forward, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. Next slide. All right, so as I said earlier, during this Ask Me Anything session, if you have questions, please post them in the Q&A forum, not in the chat box. Please just keep the chat box for admin type stuff. And then if you have any questions after this AMA session, please use the SIBR website that's linked here to submit those questions through the SIBR portal. Since the release is live at this point, we can no longer have one-on-one communication with any interested parties. All additional Q&As have to go through the SIBR website, which is linked here on this slide. Also, this video from this AMA will be posted to the Kessel Run website in the next couple days. We'll need a couple days just to edit it, but it will be up there within the next few days. We do have a Kessel Run specific email address that we've been advertising in the past. You can still contact us there, but if you ask us any questions about our topics that are posted for this pitch day event, we'll have to redirect you to the SIBR website to submit those questions there. And that's to keep everything fair since the release is live at this point. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so then just a disclosure here. These are the contractors that are supporting our Kessel Run Pitch Day. Just for this, we only have MITRE, no other ANAF support, so just MITRE, which is a federally funded research and development center. All right, so now that all that intro stuff's out of the way, I'm gonna hand this over to Matt to start. Oh, Matt just dropped off again. Let's give it a second. Hopefully he'll rejoin right away. But once Matt comes back, he's going to talk about what Kessel Run is, our vision, our mission, and what we're looking for here with this pitch day.
Sorry, Lorianne. I keep on dropping. You'll have to forgive me if it's messing up here.
Why don't you kill your video feed so that your connection's a little bit stronger?
All right, done.
All right, so I just said you're going to take it over to talk about Kessel Run and what we're about and what we're looking for.
Sounds great. So hey, everybody. Again, my name is Matt Brown. I'm going to go over kind of what Kessel Run is all about, why Kessel Run even exists, and a little bit about the vision and mission for Kessel Run. Kessel Run's vision is to deliver combat capability that can sense and to just respond to conflict in any domain, anytime, anywhere. So the major portion of why we're doing this is because we're trying to push combat capability into the hands of the user, and specifically do that in a manner that allows us to deliver it very, very rapidly. And the goal in the end, too, is also to look at any of those domains, lands, sea, space, cyberspace, air, and then make sure that we can actually deliver those capabilities on a regular cadence. And we're actually fairly successful at doing that. Next slide. So what's the mission for Kessel Run, right? It's a little bit different than the vision. Our mission is to actually continuously deliver war-winning software that warfighters love. You don't see the word love a lot in a Air Force or a military mission, but essentially we've done so poorly in the past as acquisition experts in delivering things that the warfighter actually really wants to use. We're over focusing right now on the fact that like warfighters need to actually use our capabilities and they need to love them. The other part of this too is the actual continuous delivery of those capabilities. We've been very careful and been very active in trying to make sure that our delivery of capabilities is continuous. So weekly, bi-weekly, monthly deliveries of capabilities out to the warfighter, starting with a minimum viable product and continuously delivering from then on. We believe that software is an active development all the time. We're always making something new. And so our job is to continuously deliver those capabilities, that software to the warfighter. Next slide. So this is where you guys come in. Essentially what we're doing is we're having a pitch day that's focused on Kessel Run. We had an Air Force level pitch day in the past, which was a lot more broad. This one is specific to capabilities that Kessel Run is been focusing on. So it's a new way of actually looking at SIBRs by doing these pitch days. Essentially, there's an order to it. You are allowed to submit a proposal. We'll review a proposal. We'll make an offer to specific companies to come out and actually pitch us. And then part of that pitch also includes your pitch to us, our question and answer time, with the intent of actually having an award that day to the companies for a phase 1 SIBR. Next slide. So what's the overall objective? Why do we even do this, right? Again, we're trying to break through the red tape of awarding dollars to companies who are innovative. We understand and we see that there is a real limitation and a barrier to entry for a lot of small businesses to be able to get into the DoD and get into the U.S. federal government. So our goal is to provide that opportunity for you guys to do that. There are a couple areas that we're actually really looking for in this SIBR, in this pitch day. And the goal really is to take a look at those 3 areas and see whether or not there's anything in those technologies that you guys have that we can award very rapidly. So let's talk about those 3 areas in the next slide. Next slide. Okay. So the 3 major technical areas that we really care about in this pitch day is security tools and services. And I'm going to read it right off the slide. So sorry, you have to forgive me a little bit, but tools to monitor the security of unclassified software development environments to include security of on-premise and cloud-hosted applications, as well as technologies that enhance the security of software development systems, pipelines, and code repositories. So it's very broad, but one of the areas that we hyper-focus on within Kessel Run, because we're moving very quickly, we're actually able to update the applications, we're able to put patches into those applications very quickly, but we also need to think about the security of the pipeline and our ability to be able to secure our own production environment as well as secure our own development environments. And we're looking for capabilities that allow us to be able to secure our cloud-hosted applications in the production environment, and tools that actually help us to be able to secure our pipeline or secure our code repositories in our development environment. Second area is Edge as a Service. And we're looking for technologies to operate and maintain continuous and secure cloud-native operation in low bandwidth environments. We've left this one intentionally broad because we understand that edge computing or Edge as a Service is kind of a new area. And we want to try to get in as many folks as possible in terms of this Edge as a Service. But essentially, the use case is that we have users, warfighters at the edge, who need to have local processing, who need to have the local GPU, who need to have that data available to them at the edge. So pre-positioned data in a production environment. And the goal would be to look at Edge as a Service. How do we actually use an edge device in that production environment? How do we pull together edge devices, and even kind of looking at differencing of edge devices themselves. The last area is enterprise platform tools and services. So technologies for enterprise platform design, development, and delivery, as well as technologies that facilitate application infrastructure monitoring, API management and integration, legacy system virtualization and hosting, and container orchestrations and security. I'm not going to call this one the catch-all in the discussion, but we understand that in terms of platform management, there are tools and services, for instance, like API management or single sign-on or capabilities that are part of our virtualization environment or hosting environment or container orchestration that we could find some technologies that would help us in the future. So, so platform tools, platform services. Next slide. So what are we doing as part of this SBIR phase 1, right? We're looking to validate that the product that you're bringing forward, the proposal that you're bringing forward is a good fit to our particular use case within Kessel Run. And we're also looking for the opportunity to find an MVP or a minimum viable product out of this end of phase 1 SBIR contract. So in the past, we've asked for a proposal like document that says, here's the technology, here's the possibilities associated with technology, but there's actually no deliverable part of like the technology. We are looking for a deliverable as part of the end of this phase 1. So the idea of like having a garage company who has a fantastic idea but haven't gotten it like any much farther than the idea, state is not necessarily what we're looking for. We're looking for companies that have an idea, have started working out the details of prototyping, and then at the end of this phase 1, they would have a working prototype that we could actually like touch and feel and work with. Next slide.
So as I take this over from you, Matt, the one thing I do want to add to what Matt was just talking about is that to keep in mind that this is only a 3-month SBIR phase 1. So the deliverable at the end is very important, but then also important to keep in mind that this phase 1 is only 3 months. So that makes everything that Matt said about established research and development already that much more important, because there is only 3 months under this phase 1 before that deliverable is due. So moving on, eligibility requirements. So who can submit proposals and pitch decks for this pitch day? This is defined by the DoD SBIR process. So if you're a startup or a small business, you have to be a US-based company, for-profit company, and you have to be owned by more than 50%. Ownership has to be 50% of US citizens or permanent resident aliens. And then also, lastly, you cannot have more than 500 employees, including any affiliates. The actual definition of what a small business is for this purpose is a lot more lengthy than that. Those are just the high takeaways. The hot link there for the more information is the DoD SBIR website. So if you're unsure if your ownership situation or size of your company qualifies you for this, please reach out to the folks through the DoD SBIR website. They'll be very helpful for helping you determine if you're eligible to participate or not. Also, this is in capital letters because it's that important, and I'm going to mention it a few times. At the time that you submit your proposal, you have to be registered in sam.gov as a small business. So that's not at time of contract award, it's at the time that you submit your proposal. So in a bit, we'll talk about when proposals are due. You have to be registered and you have to be showing as a small business in SAM when you submit that proposal. And SAM is the System for Award Management. It's a government website, and you have to be registered to submit your proposal. If you're not, unfortunately, you won't be qualified to even be evaluated. So very important to keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So what's next? If you've heard all this and you're still interested, here are some high-level takeaways about what your proposal needs to look like. The written proposal is not to exceed 5 pages, so it's pretty short. The accompanying pitch deck that comes with that is no more than 15 slides. And then again, the duration of this work will not exceed 3 months, and the maximum award for the contract value for this is $75,000. Again, these are just the high-level takeaways. The DoD SBIR website provides a lot of detail and instruction on how to format those 5 pages for your technical proposal, and also how to provide the cost information to show what award amount you are requesting. Next slide, please. All right, so here's again some hot links. We'll make sure these are all up on our website. The release for SBIR 19.2 is live, so it's on FBO as well as the DoD SBIR website. It went live on May 31st and ends on July 1st. So that means that the proposal due date is July 1st. And again, because it is that important, you must be registered in SAM.gov at the time of proposal submission, so by July 1st. Next slide. All right, so here's the timeline to date. So you can see that we've held some AMAs before the release went live back in May. So right now we're in the 31 May to 1 July release timeframe. Proposals are due through the DoD SBIR portal at 8 p.m. on July 1st. The folks that run that website have let us know that the entire day on July 1st, the website is very overloaded with traffic. So if you're ready to go before the 1st, please submit that early. Definitely do not wait until the last few hours. Unfortunately, if you can't submit because of website traffic, there are no extensions possible. So please get your proposals in early if you can. After the 1st, we'll be evaluating all the proposals and we'll be sending invitations or notifications of non-selections by Friday, July 12th. We're getting those invitations out by then so that you have 2 weeks to plan travel to come to Boston for July 26th for the actual pitch day event, which is held at Kessel Run on Beacon Street in Boston. Sometime between the 12th and the 26th, we haven't scheduled it yet, we'll hold another one of these sessions with all the companies that have been invited to pitch at pitch day. And at that AMA session, we'll go over all the logistics for the day of, expectations, and things of that nature. So today we'll just stick to questions on the actual topics, and then companies that are invited, we'll discuss all those specific day of things at the next AMA. Next slide, please. So again, just to reiterate, these are all the points of contacts you can have if you have questions. Since we are in the open period, questions do have to go through this portal. And then also, if you have just any questions about how to actually use the portal or how to submit your proposal, please give the help desk a call. They're actually very helpful in helping you work through those issues. We've had to call them for a few things as well, and they've been very responsive to help us work with the website as well. So I'll leave this slide up for a second so you can jot down that number if you want. It is on the website though, the DoD SBIR website. And then that specific URL is just where you can submit questions specific to the Kessel Run topic after this afternoon session. So at this point, it looks like we don't have any questions in the queue right now. So if anyone listening in has any questions, we'll give you a couple minutes to type those questions up into the Q&A tool so that we can start chatting about those.
Hey, Lori, and I actually did answer one question in the Q&A box already.
Oh,
and the question was, is KREL interested in a tool to validate network configurations in support of, for example, NSA's CSFC program? And I answered yes. We feel that a capability that validates network configuration falls within this SBIR pitch day. KR has been looking at how we implement CSFC from a mobile as well as a node-to-node implementation.
All right, so we'll just sit here for a few minutes, and if anyone, oh, there we go. There's a few coming in. All right. Let's see, question from Justin Miller. Will there be another pitch day and round of submittals after July for additional topics and ideas? So the DoD SBIR program office runs the releases 3 times a year. Don't quote me on the dates. This is the first one I've participated in, but I believe it is February, July, and October. So we're in 19.2, which means the second one of the year, so that's July. So the DoD SBIR office holds the 3 per year. In terms of specific for Kessel Run, we haven't committed to participating in the one for October yet. So there may or may not be, we're not sure at this point.
The next question that's on the list is from Wayne. You have to, if I mess up your last name, I'm sorry. Palatkin, Nixalo, are the Air Force specific user needs, and he has a website in there from AFWorks, a good source for problems to solve. There's a few there that we can get to work on. And unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that website. I don't know, Lorianne, are you familiar with that one?
I actually just pulled it up right now. So AFWorks has their own special topic, which is what I'm just confirming. So they are Air Force Special Topic 1. So the Air Force special topics are all titled AF 192 dash, and there's a bunch of numbers. So AFWorks is special topic 1. So if you're interested in the topics that AFWorks specifically is advertising, that would be a separate proposal submission than these Kessel Run topics. So Kessel Run is special topic 5. So AFWorks is special topic 1, we're special topic 5. I don't remember offhand if they're holding a pitch day or if they are just doing the proposal reviews and then selections. I don't know if Captain Weiler's in the room, if she knows the answer to that one, but yeah, if you're interested in those topics, for sure, reach out to AFWorks and see what you can work on with them.
She's right here, Lorianne.
They're not doing a pitch day for the open topic. They're awarding the open topics during the contracting sprint the following week after our pitch days.
Okay, yep. So if you're, so Wayne, if you're interested in those, definitely reach out and propose for that special topic for AFWorks.
Cool. The next question is from Jack Davidson, and he has a series of questions that are in here, so we'll make our best attempt at answering them.
Do you want me to, these seem kind of technical. I can read these for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, first one, can you provide some guidance on the type of low bandwidth environments that are contemplated?
Yeah, so that's a great question, actually. And we don't have a really great definition of quite what low bandwidth actually means. But essentially, we're looking for disconnected operations and low bandwidth operations at the tactical edge. And with a disconnected time of potentially up to 30 days. And really, you know, from a low bandwidth perspective, I don't have a number to kind of give you. But the major goal is to ensure that we can still provide the ability to feed up applications as well as application data within those environments disconnected for those 30 days.
I can read the next one, and we're on number 2, right?
Yep.
What is the threat model for the security tools and services area? That is the program concerned with Trojans and malware being introduced in the software development toolchain. Example, a compromised compiler or library, or is it more focused on securing the outputs of the software development environment, i.e. securing the software artifacts being developed?
So the answer is yes on both. So we are looking at both the security tools security, the pipeline security, and the protection of software code that's actually in the pipeline, and ensuring that we don't end up with malware. So we are seriously considering what do we do about external libraries and compilers. So yes, that would fall within this this pitch day. And I'm not certain I understand the threat model question for that part of it. So maybe if you want to add a little clarification to your question on the threat model, that'd be great.
All right, number 3, for all areas is securing container images, VM images, and scope. For example, is potential area of interest techniques to support a secured and trusted appliance store, where an appliance is a set of secured applications that together provide a service. LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, I think, PHP, ML stack, etc.
The answer is yes. The area of actually securing VMs or securing containers is kind of a broad scope. We are using Pivotal Cloud Foundry as our platform, and so container management and container management security is important. From an appliance store perspective, I'm not certain I quite get the appliance store question, but yes, so we are looking at security of both of those VMs as well as containers within the production environment. Let's see, I'm
Is protecting
LAMP stack. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I don't know if I have a great answer for the Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. So we do actually do MySQL. But yes, if there are security structures that you can put into that in the production environment, as in like within the platform, then that'd be accepted. Sorry, Neil, go ahead.
Is processing against 0 days in scope?
So I think it depends. The idea of like protecting against 0 days seemed kind of like nebulous. So it just kind of just depends on what it is. So if you want to add a little scope to that question, that'd be great.
Is fuzzing, i.e. proactively identifying potential vulnerabilities in scope?
Yeah, fuzzing is definitely in scope in this.
Can a company pitch more than one idea?
Sure, so I'll take this one. So you can, but keep in mind that a key part of your proposal is who the principal investigators will be working on this. And we are cognizant of the fact that one person can only work 40 hours a week. So if you're using the same team full-time on both, you will not be eligible to receive both of those awards. So just keep that in mind. And then, oh, that's it. I was gonna say something else, but that's it for that one.
Can an awarded contract have a subcontractor?
So you can have proposed subcontractors or consultants, but the prime has to complete at least 2/3 of the work themselves.
All right, another one from Jack Davidson. How specifically do we have to identify a potential Air Force end user? That is, do we have to identify a specific project person, or is identifying a general market fit with the Air Force?
So that's it. I'll try to take a stab at this one. So Kessel Run has the mediation point for you to be able to get to an Air Force end user. So one of our fortes is actually user-centered design. So if part of your initiative is to say, hey, I need to identify a persona that would be the consumer of this particular product, Kessel Run has the ability and a wide swath of warfighters that we may be able to get to for that end user. So we're not actually asking you to try to figure out what your market fit is. We'll help you figure that out.
Next one is from Anwar Charikaptal. Is PCF the only target platform, or K8s is a viable option to build services and tools on?
Yeah, so right now our production environment is PCF, but we are looking at Kubernetes as a container management solution in the future as well. So yes.
I think that's everything that's been submitted so far, so we can hang out for another couple of minutes to see if anyone else has any questions.
So Lori, and I'm sitting in one of those rooms where the lights turn off if you don't move around too much. All right, what do you say we wait maybe 2 more minutes altogether? And if folks
maybe last call. No one's dropped off this call yet, so maybe 2 more minutes. If anyone's typing, get your questions submitted. Otherwise, we'll be ending. And I guess just as a reminder, this is your last opportunity to discuss things with us I know it's an open forum, but directly. After this, you will have to submit all questions through the DoD SBIR portal. So great last chance to take advantage of this while you can. Looks like we got one more from Ryan Murphy. So other than PCF, are there particular commercial cloud vendors that KR is utilizing outside of the DevOps platform?
So KR is using right now the only certified cloud platform provider in the production environment. So AWS provides GovCloud as well as SC2S and C2S. I do know that there are other cloud providers who are working their way into the DoD space, but it seems right now that AWS is the only provider of secret and TS cloud platforms besides kind of the hybrid cloud model where you buy your own hardware. We actually do have a hybrid cloud model. We have Dell VX Rails as our core infrastructure for production environment within SBIR.
All right, and I think we're just trying to clean up this Q&A list to see what we have left here.
Lori, and there was one that came in. Is there a minimum size of employees for a company to have?
There is not. So I guess one. No size on the small end, or no size restriction on the small end, just on the high end of 500, but no minimum number.
Jack Davidson also asks, is there any type of clearance required to participate?
There is not. So no security clearance is required. Nothing classified about this at all. If we move forward to phase 2 or phase 3 with your company, if there is a benefit of exploring that path, we would do so at that time. But for phase 1 and usually even phase 2, there's no requirement at all. And that's not to say that you wouldn't get to phase 3 without a clearance either. It's really just dictated on the product, what you're offering, and what types of information the government needs to exchange. But for this right now, everything is completely unclassified.
And it looks like there's one question in here too from Matthew Burton. Are there any eligibility restrictions for vendors who have recently been awarded phase 1 open topic or pitch day awards?
So you cannot receive an additional phase 1 award or any SBIR award for the same thing that you've already received a SBIR award for. So there is a restriction in that sense of it. You cannot propose the same technology that's developed under a different SBIR and want to get another SBIR contract out of this pitch day event. Other than that, though, there's no restrictions in that sense. The SBIR office works with you to make sure that once you hit a certain number of SBIR phase 1 awards, you have to show that a certain amount of them are being transitioned to phase 2 or phase 3. But at that point, that's something that the DoD SBIR office would work with you on, not us at our level.
There's one from Wayne Palatkin.
All right. So
Run have a restriction against proposals that aren't pre-existing commercial products. AFWorks has that restriction, assuming 3 months is enough time to create the prototype.
Do you want me to take that one? Or?
You could hit this one, that'd be great.
Okay, sure. So there is no restriction on that. So 3 months is a very short time. So whatever you're proposing does need to be at the state that at the end of 3 months, you can deliver that MVP or prototype, whatever you'd like to call it. That does not mean it has to be an existing commercial product. In a sense like this, we want things to be developed. So if it's an existing commercial product that's still in development, that's great too. But it does not have to be pre-existing commercial. All right, so another question from Matthew Burton. Is KRL interested in tools for automating the process of moving software or code repositories between classification domains?
The answer to that is yes, we are interested in tools for doing that. If you can think about it from a commercial perspective, The idea of DevOps means that the developer and the platform operator are able to work in sync because of the way that our production environment is actually developed. We have a classified production environment and an unclassified development environment. So how we get our bits from unclassified to classified domain is extreme importance to us. Also, how we talk between domains, between secret and rel domains, as well as secret and top secret domains, is important to us. And then also from a DevOps perspective, how we take metrics or instrumentation data from our applications and bring that back down to the unclassified environment is also important to us.
All right, that looks like that was everything, so I'll give it another minute or two.
Lorianne, are you wearing KR swag?
I am wearing KR swag.
Yeah. Wish I could say I was wearing swag, but I'm wearing a button-down shirt today.
All right, last chance for questions. We'll give it about another minute. And so we will make sure that this video recording in an edited, compressed form will make it up to our website as well in the next couple days. So you will be able to reference back to these questions that are being answered. So we got a question. I'm not sure what the actual question is here though. From Sarah, it says the SIBR released covers all topics in first slides. So the three topics we have, the Edge as a Service, security tools, and platform tools and services, those are all under the Kessel Run special topic, which is topic number 5 under the Air Force specific document. Those are all under SIBR release 19.2. I'm not sure if that was your actual question though, so if it wasn't, if you could reply with some clarification, that'd be good. Oh, actually, I think closing the question made it not possible for the asker to respond. So if that was you, just submit a new question with what your clarifying comments were. Yep, so those are the 3 topics. So they're all, oh, hang on. Kessel Run Enterprise Services, KR Software Toolchain. So these are names of contracts that we have that are traditional contracts that are being run under like a non-SIBR process. There's various RFPs that are out in the marketplace for other requirements that Kessel Run has. The items that you've typed, some of these are names of those procurements. So those separate RFPs that are out on the street are not related to the SIBR process or this pitch day. Pitch day is just for these 3 topics that Matt talked about. So the security tools and services, Edge as a service, and enterprise platform tools and services. Those are the only 3 items that this pitch day will be looking at through the DoD SIBR process. Yep, so those are separate from this. So
Lorianne, I actually had a question that I think you clarified earlier, but I wanted to make sure I understood. So if someone has a capability that they think falls within this phase 1 SIBR, but they've already been awarded a SIBR on similar technology or the same technology, they're ineligible, is that correct? Lorianne, you're still muted.
Sorry, I just muted myself instead of unmuting myself. That is correct. So if they've had a SIBR award for like whatever the technology is, call it technology X, they cannot have an additional SIBR award for that same thing. But if they've already had a SBIR Phase 1 award, other government groups can work with them to move them to Phase 2 or Phase 3. So if we as like Kessel Run hear about a technology that is already a SBIR contract, we can always work with that company and whoever holds the Phase 1 to discuss Phase 2 or Phase 3.
Yeah, let me jump in on that too. So my organization, the Kessel Run Accelerator, is looking for capabilities that may have already gone through a Phase 1. There are opportunities to do Phase 2 awards. So if you feel that there's something that you have been working on that you already got a Phase 1 on, and you want to share that with Kessel Run, you can share that with krx@kr.af.mil, and we'll take a look at that technology, and we can make determinations on how we would want to fund something if it's just truly amazing technology. Oh, and Lorianne too, I don't know if you want to clarify on this one too. There's an AFWorks open topic on direct to Phase 2, and I know some folks have asked that question to the pitch day email. So we aren't covering that as part of this pitch day, but essentially it doesn't make you ineligible to try to go direct to Phase 2, assuming you end up with a government organization who has interest in your Phase 2.
Right. So this is for the Phase 1s. We're not participating in the direct to Phase 2 for this specific event. That doesn't mean that we won't in the future, but for this one, we're doing the Phase 1.
Thank you, Lorianne. All right, we haven't gotten any questions in the last couple minutes, so I think we're going to finish up.
Yep,
Right.
Sounds good. So if anyone has questions after this, after we end this AMA, please head over to the DoD SBIR portal to submit all your questions there. We'll still receive them. It's just at this point with the release being active, we have to facilitate those questions through that website. And again, this recording will be up on our Kessel Run website in the next couple of days. So thank you everyone for your interest.
Thank you guys, appreciate the time.
Bye. So with that, we did have a question submitted last week that we weren't able to answer on the spot. So we pulled that question into these slides. So should we read it?
Yeah,
I can read it.
Yeah.
I'll read it. You can answer it.
Okay.
All right. Do you have to be 800, 171 to participate? We had asked the person to clarify and they had said, DoD 800, 171, compliance for government contractors. In December 2015, the DoD published a 3-page interim rule to the DFARS that gives government contractors a deadline of December 31st, 2017 to implement the requirements of the National Institute of Standards and Technology's special publication 800-171. So Matt.
So the answer, right? So we had to actually dig to find an answer for this because we weren't familiar with the actual memo. But DoD 800-171 refers to all Department of Defense contractors that process, store, or transmit controlled unclassified information, must meet the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations Supplement minimum security standards by December 31st, 2017, or risk losing their DoD contracts. Now, keep in mind, these are folks that have to process, store, and transmit controlled unclassified information. So a business does not need to meet this DoD 800-171 requirement to participate in this SBIR Phase 1 pitch day. Now, it does help if in the future you want to be able to gain access to controlled unclassified information. If you do not comply, we will not be able to share controlled unclassified information with you. So moving forward, it behooves you to become compliant if you want to continue a relationship.
So that was the only question that was submitted previously. So we can, maybe,
There is one in
looks
there
like
right
there's
now.
some questions in there. So while we go over these questions and answer them live, please feel free to type in any questions you might have, and we'll answer them as they come in.
Yeah. Is the next slide the Q&A slide? Okay, good.
I didn't update that slide.
Okay.
So.
All right. So right now is your opportunity, if you haven't actually loaded in a question into the Q&A section for the webinar, go ahead and finish typing those up and we'll start answering them as we go. So the first question is, after the phase 2, who will fund the phase 3? Will it be Kessel Run directly? Phase 3 funds would not come from AFWorks, just double checking. Thanks.
I got this one. So just so that everyone knows, just to clarify, this is for a phase 1 award, not a phase 2. Some other Air Force entities are doing direct to phase 2. Kessel Run's not. So this pitch day event is for a phase 1 award. If we keep a technology long enough to become phase 3, obviously there's a lot of things that have to go right to get to phase 3, it would be Kessel Run funding. So we're not officially tied to AFWorks. They're another Air Force organization and we do collaborate with them, but this would be a Kessel Run effort. However, there is no requirement to stick with the office that sponsored the phase 1 and phase 2. So it could be that at some point in the future, if there's a different organization that has a greater need or greater alignment, they could take over phase 3, not Kessel Run. So I guess point being, right now, it's not 100% guarantee that if you get to a phase 3, it would be with Kessel Run. A different Air Force organization could take it over at that point.
And just to footstop something too, so these are phase 1 awards. There is opportunity to move into phase 2, and there's also an opportunity, the Small Business Association actually does a matching award for first-time awardees. They will match up to 4 times as much money as the government entity actually puts out. So if we really love your capabilities, we can put down, I think, up to $375. And then that means that the total award would be somewhere around $2.2 million for phase 2s if we did put in, if Kessel Run was so interested that we would put money down. So.
And while we get more questions submitted, you have, everyone that's on the Zoom has a capability to upvote, like to give it to the thumbs up. So if questions have a lot of votes for them, we'll answer those in that order.
Okay, so can we submit more than one proposal?
Oh, where did that, there it is. Sorry, our question interface is going a little wonky. All right, so you can, however, part of your proposal is stating your principal that will be the one executing this work. So if you have someone full-time on one proposal, they obviously cannot realistically be full-time on another project as well. So if you submit 2 different proposals with the same teams in those proposals, you would not get awards for both of those, because we know that there's only so many hours in a week, and the same person cannot work full-time on 2 different projects. So yes, you can absolutely submit more than one, but the likelihood of winning more than one award would not be very high.
Let's see.
Oh, you can hit done.
Yep.
Yep. Scroll up because they're upvoted. There you go.
So space, weight, and power goals. Is there size, weight, and power requirements? Right now, there are not space, weight, and power requirements. Now, I think the expectation is from an edge perspective, which is what I'm assuming this question is related to. The idea is typically that the smaller, the less power consuming, the better. So no weight requirements as far as I know. But less than 1 rack of equipment would be fantastic.
Oh, did that clarification
Yeah.
help? Okay.
Yeah, good.
Hang on, I'm just gonna, there we go.
So
All
let's
right,
see.
fully, I'll read because
Okay.
you're gonna answer this one.
Yeah.
Fully disconnected, partially disconnected, question mark. Core capabilities, ingest, filtering, ML, controlled remotely, or deploy and go.
Yeah, those are good questions, and I think there's some wiggle room there too. The idea is that we can be disconnected for a duration. So I think the answer is probably up to 30 days disconnect, with the ability to be able to work in kind of a low bandwidth environment as well. And then the question is, what happens when it resyncs back up to the cloud or our platform? And how do we build our applications around something that could be disconnected for up to 30 days? So those are kind of the talking points, right? There is the idea of being able to do remote control of those, which is kind of like a deploy and go. Like we want to be able to drop it in theater and be able to connect it up immediately, extend our platform out to it, or deploy a micro platform for applications at the edge, and then do remote processing as well. So we could do kind of some staging of data in that environment. And then the question, what happens, that we need to probably answer is what happens in the disconnected ops capability when you have no access back to the data stores or no access to the applications themselves. How do we do that on the edge? So I'm not certain on the ingest question, but on or filtering. So if you want to clarify that, then yeah, ML, definitely ML, but not necessarily.
ML?
So machine learning. But we're not doing edge as an extension of like a machine learning capability that we're trying to put out there. But essentially, if we ended up doing ML, then maybe potentially it could be a source of ML data. But I don't have a great answer for that quite yet, not until we know what the solution set looks like and how we're actually doing ML here within Kessel Run.
So Wesley, if you would like to clarify the ingest or filtering, we'll leave this question open so that we can come back to it. All right. Oh, looks like you did. Filtering, doing smart selection or filtering on the edge.
Yeah, I think there is an idea of actually maybe filtering if you're talking about like what is it that you need to store on the edge. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so he said to reduce bandwidth, and that's correct. So yeah, if there are mechanisms in terms of filtering that you think would be fantastic on edge computing from a disconnected ops perspective or from a low bandwidth perspective, then yes, absolutely. Like what information would you want to prioritize because you'd have limited bandwidth would be fantastic. Yeah.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't. Okay. All right. So question from Ian. If we have a proposal that fits more than one category, is your advice to only submit one proposal and just be clear that it can address several topics, or to submit multiple proposals? So I would not submit multiple proposals unless the solution is different. So if you have a proposed solution that I don't know logically, as I'm not technical, which two topics could have a solution that fits both of them, but if the same solution could reach multiple, just submit one proposal and articulate which areas you think your solution is solving. If your solution is slightly different for different topics, then yes, please submit multiple proposals. But if it's the same solution, just submit one proposal. And this came up in a different Ask Me Anything for a different pitch day event, and this seems a little bit related, so I'm just going to share it. A company had asked if they would be rated more favorably for solving more topic areas, and the answer is no. While that's great, it's just it doesn't give you like extra credit, so to speak, when looking at the evaluation criteria.
So the next question is, do we need a stakeholder letter of interest?
You do not need that. You can submit them, but for this pitch day event, the primary stakeholder is us in Kessel Run, the Kessel Run users, and then the customers of Kessel Run. So we are intending to be the stakeholder. We will be the stakeholder for at least this phase one. So if you have other stakeholders outside of Kessel Run that are interested in your product, you can submit them, but they're not required.
Yeah, I think typically it's a phase 2 type of thing, especially for pitch day. So if you have units that have a real interest in it, Getting more than one unit interested in your capability is not a bad thing. And sometimes they actually chip in money towards the actual phase 2 award. So, getting your product out into that marketplace is fantastic. So we encourage that. Next question is your edge compute constrained to a particular architecture like ARM versus x86, or does it encompass both? So I'll give you an idea of what we actually are using, and maybe this helps to answer the question. We typically, on a node that we manage, we're using the Dell VxRail solution. And we put VMware on top of that to be able to virtualize it, and then we put Pivotal Cloud Foundry on top of that. So yes, there is kind of a specific stack that we manage as a platform that we would want to be compliant with. And so the idea would be like, yeah, how do we extend that existing platform and services from an edge compute perspective out to that environment? So yeah, there will be specific requirements that we'd have to kind of talk through. And if you have more specific questions than that, then just go ahead and post those as a follow-on into your current Q&A.
So we'll leave it open in case.
Yeah, can we leave that one
Yep.
open just for a little bit and
Yep.
see if he has a little bit more details? Yeah.
Yep. All right. Question from Jonathan. Does this SBIR support Section 5107 authority? Section 5107 authority clarifies the SBIR applicant requirements to allow venture-backed small businesses to participate. I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to leave this one open too, and I'm going to see if I can find an answer while Matt talks about the next technical topic.
Definitely. What is the best way to interact with you prior to 31 May? Well, you can definitely email us to the email address that we posted earlier in the slide brief, and I think it's pitchday@kr.af.mil. And then we can respond back up to sometime on the 31st of May, up through the 30th of May for certain. And then sometime on the 31st, it'll close when we post. And then at that point, we really can't email back and forth. You have to go through the SBIR website to be able to ask specific questions.
All right, another question from Jonathan. Does this SBIR support? I
think that was the one we just
Yep, sorry, the screen keeps bumping. Will an organization applying for a D2P2 AFWork SBIR also be eligible for this phase 1 SBIR if the company has enough resources to support both? Absolutely, yep.
Yep.
Not much else to say about that
one.
No,
that's good. Yes.
Yes.
The name Kessel Run implies a primary interest of software and services to the edge. Is that the overriding goal of these procurements, even in the two categories that aren't explicitly edge focused? So the name Kessel Run, great question. It's about doing things faster. It's a little bit about smuggling things in, right? So we smuggle software into the production environment was kind of the joke when we first started, but we now are really highly focused on winning that race and making sure that we can, on a continuous basis, put product into the field. And that will include the ability to actually put something onto an edge device at somewhere. But it's not an overriding goal of the procurement. I mean, the overriding goal probably is making sure that we have good, secure processes, as well as commercial solutions that actually supply services for us that are very secure and extensible.
Good.
Yep.
Good to go. All right. All right. SBIRs typically grant a perpetual license to the government/military for any software capabilities developed. Is that the case here? Will the U.S. Air Force and the rest of the government own any tech developed under this program? So we are not looking to deviate from. We're not looking to, nor can we deviate from the standard SBIR data rights that are granted. So because we've been asked this so many times, we put this up on the Kessel Run website as to answer the question of what am I giving away for data rights? What does the government get? And so forth. So we will have government purpose rights to software developed here. We won't be able to release the data rights to any other companies. So the focus of this is not to change what is normally done under SBIRs. I lost where that question
Yep.
went.
No, you're
Oh,
right
it's
in
right
the
there.
middle.
Yep.
So is there more to that?
Yep.
Or?
Nope. So, I mean, own is a weird word to use with data rights in the sense we will have government purpose rights to it, and we will not be disclosing it to anyone else.
It doesn't keep them from commercializing a product.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
So, all right. Next question. The focus on the phase 1 is validation of the product and market fit with the stakeholder, which is us. What are you planning to or able to provide in terms of access to users, operators, systems, data, etc.? So we can provide an infinite amount of access to those types of things. And yes, we would be the primary stakeholder of this, and with the intent of having a minimum viable product that actually a user can use. So if the user is focused on our development environment, it would be our devs or our Kessel Run Enterprise Services teams. And you would have access to those users and operators in this instance. Now, if you do not have the ability to take control on classified information, it's going to be very hard for you to actually do that. So, foot stomp the fact that eventually being able to do for official use only and other types of data is important, especially if it's important to you to be able to get interaction from the using group, which we highly value here at Kessel Run, our ability to be able to get to our users and do interviews and understand what their pain points are and try to emphasize solving those pain points.
So maybe we're down to the last few questions. Maybe we can release the last poll. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have one more poll for all of our participants. Oh, we never shared. Did we share those results?
Yep, we did.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna launch this last poll for you guys.
So as we wrap up, just this poll is about, at this point, how likely is it that your company will submit a proposal under one of our SBIR topics? So we'll leave that up for the next couple minutes as we close out these last questions.
Okay. Let's see. Did we answer all these ones? Okay. Some SBIRs seem more focused on R&D and basic research, but this seems more targeted at somewhat proven or more mature technologies. Is that accurate? I would say that is accurate. The goal, of course, is to have an MVP out of this. So if you're starting from scratch and you're starting your company in the garage and you have a great idea, it's probably less likely to gain the eye of the panel to move forward. So there still can be R&D as part of this. You can have an unproven capability, but as long as you have a minimum viable product to put forward at the end, that's where we're going to probably see the rubber hit the road here on whether or not you're viable for a phase 2 award.
All right. Is that the one that we
That was
started
the one,
before?
yeah. And if
Okay.
he was going to clarify, then it doesn't seem like he's adding anything more to it. So we can probably close that one out. That was on the edge computing constraint to particular architecture, and we talked a little bit about the architecture.
All right, so the question about SBIRs and venture-backed companies, I can't find an answer on the spot right now, so I will make sure to get this question and answer up on our website since this is our last AMA. So kesselrun.af.mil is our website, so if you go there, it links to our Pitch Day Google site, so I'll make sure that this gets up there.
Yep, so we actually did get a question in.
Yep. So how does phase 2 work? So once we are nearing completion of phase 1, if your phase 1 was successful, which can, success can be deemed in many different ways, but obviously you'd have to deliver an MVP. We would still have to see value in your product. We would request a proposal from your company for phase 2 work. At that point, you would be working directly with the Kessel Run acquisition office to help you make sure that you're submitting to us in a proposal what we need to negotiate the phase 2 with your company. I don't know, what does it look like is a kind of broad question. So if you have any more specifics about phase 2, I'll leave the question open. Please add some more if you had some more detailed questions I didn't touch on.
So there's another one. How about early stage commercial products? MVP will be ready by the end of phase 2. Does this work?
No. So for this release, the requirement for phase 1 is an MVP at the end of phase 1. Now, what that MVP looks like at the end of phase 1, right? Like it doesn't have to be the 100% solution. I mean, that's the point of the
Right.
the MVP. So
Right.
we do have to see MVP at 3 months possible. I don't know if that's the right technical term.
Yeah, that's probably
in your
good.
proposal to receive the contract for the phase 1.
Yeah.
If you have something that would be possible by the end of the timeline for phase 2, there are some other Air Force organizations that are doing direct to phase 2 work. I have no idea what their technical topics are, but it sounds like your timeline might better align with direct to phase 2.
DoD guidance is not develop a custom solution where COTS and OSS products exist. What do you see as Kessel Run needing that is not already commercially available? So that's a great question. Some things like security tools in a platform environment where container management is actually available, there are commercial viable solutions there, and Kessel Run is actively looking at those. As a matter of fact, the organization that I run, KRX, is responsible for commercial outreach as well, to look at viable commercial solutions. In this instance, it's going to be government off the shelf or government solutions that we're looking for. So if you already have a solution that you want to talk to us about, feel free to reach out to us at krx@kr.af.mil. And highlight your technologies that you have right now from a commercial solution perspective. But the other part too is that there are certain aspects of things like Edge, let's say, that do not have good commercial viable solutions quite yet, that also aren't necessarily like tailored to our environment. And we have a real need for understanding how we extend our global platform out to the edge. And it doesn't mean you can't come with a commercial edge product with a good edge solution on top of that actually helps us, that you guys are developing. That'd be fantastic. All right. Did you already answer this one?
He added the following question: the funding limitation for phase 2s. There is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Does Mike know it? Nope. So I will find out. There is.
The most I've seen was $2.5 million, I think.
Yeah, it's actually like a I just don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah, we had one that was $2.2 million not that long ago for a phase 2. So it is possible. If your technology is awesome and we want to move forward with it, then it's definitely possible to get into a phase 2 that's worth some money.
Mm.
So, audio dropped out. Not cool.
Is there anyone in the chat box saying they can't hear us? Can everyone else hear us, or is everyone having problems?
Yeah, if you guys can't hear us anymore, just go ahead and into the chat and say, okay, thank you, Joe. So might be on your end, Christian. So, okay. Okay, cool, excellent. Welcome back, Christian. Is there anything else on there that we need to answer? So let's just make sure, were there any ones that were answered by staff here that we didn't go through already?
Oh, and the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So
with regards to security, what systems or tools are you currently using for vulnerability penetration testing?
So the answer is we are actively using tools from Fortify, SonarCube, OWASP, and other dependency checks. And we are actually actively looking at others as well moving forward. So one of the key aspects of that is looking at tools that automate some of those security checks. So depending on what it is, if it's in the continuous integration lifecycle or within our products, how do we define security from that perspective? Like how do we scan for the application itself? So things like Fortify actually do vulnerability scanning on the application, and then on the securing of the pipeline itself, how are we actually securing the pipeline? There are certain tools that we're looking for in that area too.
All right, so this is another one that was answered via text. What security tools or services are currently being used at KR in line with Area 1, security tools and services?
The answer is we are employing DevOps, continuous integration, and continuous delivery methodology. We are using interfacing with COTS and open source tools and services from big security companies such as Fortify, SonarCube, and OWASP. So, and Christian had a follow-up to that one, and it said, So no firewalls, proxy, DLP, endpoint. SIEM solutions are currently in place, and there are some of those actually in place. So we have firewalls for our production environments. We do have some proxies in place. Endpoint, I'm assuming your endpoint security. We do have a SIEM solution. I'm sure there are others that I can't think of off the top of my head that we have in place. So if you get an award and there'd be a need to understand what those endpoints are, then we can definitely kind of walk through the entire stack so you guys see what's in place.
Oh,
Okay. I think that's it.
think
Give us just a second to scroll through the Q&A section.
one more. Do your systems or any awarded project need to go through the RMF process?
That is a great question. So if your product can make it through a continuous integration pipeline, you might be eligible for a continuous ATO, or what we call the CATO. If your product is not possible to go through a pipeline and meet all of the appropriate security checks through the tools that we were just talking about, which is like OWASP and Fortify, then yes, we would have to go through the RMF process to be able to deploy that into a production environment. So we do have a fantastic relationship, though, with C2AO, and his job has been to help us to be able to get those products into the production environment as quickly as possible. We've done it on a couple of products already.
All right, so I think we'll get everyone another minute or two to submit any last questions they might have, and in the meantime, we can share
The results.
the results of the poll. So we have about a third of folks not looking to submit a proposal under this topic, and then the remaining 2/3 split over likely, very likely, and definitely. So it's good to hear.
Cool.
And so what you see up on the screen right now is just our email address for any questions now through the 30th. May 31st and onward, if you have questions about like actual proposal prep or admin like items, the DoD Cyber Office has a help desk with the phone number right there. They're available 9 to 6 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. And then also you can submit written questions through the DoD Cyber website. If you have questions about our technical topic, you can still ask those questions. It just has to be directed to the DoD Cyber Office. They'll filter them through to us.
We'll do our best to answer those as much as possible. So there was another one that just came in. Can I get more information on the CATO you just mentioned? And the answer is yes. It would probably be a lot longer than this webinar to kind of have a discussion on it. But I mean, essentially what we've done is we've taken applications and we've passed them through a continuous integration pipeline that has specific guardrails that are in place. And we also have some manual checking, and that's actually part of what maybe some of the CIBR could actually cover is how do you cover the rest of the controls that are part of a continuous ATO process that have to be done manually. So that's one area, but and then we have a fantastic relationship with our C2AO, which I mentioned, and we also have an innovation AO, and they've looked at the processes that we're actually following and said, as long as you guys follow these particular guardrails and these guidelines, then any product that you actually pass through that pipeline has an ATO from the start. And that's fantastic for especially MVP products that are compliant with the pipeline.
Yeah, so if you have any detailed questions between now and the 30th, feel free to email us. We can talk to you more about that. Another question just in, can you expand on multi-domain C2 requirements?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a huge topic and a really interesting point within the Air Force.
How does that relate to any of our pitch day topics though?
Well, we use the buzzword, I think, multi-domain C2 in the vision of Kessel Run.
Gotcha.
And yes, the idea is to try to unify the vast majority of those workflows so that you have the ability to do multi-domain C2. There isn't a topic specifically in this call that's designed to address that though. But if you want to have multi-domain C2 discussions, you can definitely reach out to us. We can have those outside the CIBR topic call.
All right, we'll just give folks another minute or two to submit any questions. Oh, every time I say that, there's something. Oh,
no.
Thank you for participating.
All right, last call. It's 12:49 Eastern Daylight Time. So maybe a minute left here before we're going to cut it off. Can you share the early deck?
So we put all of the hot links on the website. All of the information is on the website. The slide deck is not, but all the information's there. Just from a logistical perspective, it was easier just to get the information on the website than try to get slides advertised and available for download. If there's anything specific from the slide deck that you'd like that's not on the website, feel free to email us.
Cool. Are we going to follow up with an answer?
Yeah, so I left the question about phase 2 dollar amounts and venture-backed companies open. I'll find answers to those and add them to the website so everyone can see the answers.
Cool. All right.
All right, so we'll just go on mute for a minute or two to see if there's any other questions that are lingering out there.
So we had a really good question come in. So what are the manual processes needing help with your CATO pipeline? So there are a certain number of controls. So if you're familiar with the RMF process, there's certain controls that are put on top of your environment or your application that need to be met. And to some degree, some of those can be met in an automatic way through the CI pipeline. But there are a limited number of other ones that right now there is no automation behind. So the idea would be like, how do we address some of those controls out of the RMF that right now we don't have the ability to actually do that. And I don't have a list of them right now. And I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm peeking over at my guys over here if there's anything in particular that he's writing a note about. Verification and mobile, what's that word?
Security control vetting.
Oh yeah, security control vetting. So yeah, if that's possible. I know that's a category actually in RMF, isn't it? So yeah. So if you're familiar with RMF, there are certain ones like verification and mobile that you can address. So all right, cool.
All right, so I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Again, you have our contact information, pitch day at Kessel Run, or sorry, not at Kessel Run, at kr.af.mil or our website, kesselrun.af.mil. Please feel free to reach out to us for the next day or two with any lingering questions. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing proposals come in on July 1st.
Cool.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
we're going to end the webinar. Thank you, everyone. We didn't have any previously submitted questions ahead of time for this AMA, so at this time we'll bounce over to the questions that have been submitted online and start talking through some of those. And in the meantime, we can probably show the poll results for.
I did it already.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool.
Can I go in the Q&As?
I think because you're sharing your screen, but we can look
Oh.
at them here.
Okay, good.
Okay. Will this brief be made available at the end of the AMA? We are trying to figure out the logistics of that. We will make sure that we get all the information onto our website. It might not be in these slides, but all the information will be on our website. All right.
Let's see. Regarding Edge as a service area, does cloud in this context specifically refer to fixed centralized data center cloud hosting? If so, is there a specific cloud provider or preferred virtualization system? If not, are highly decentralized solutions still applicable to this topic? That's a great question. So in this instance, we actually look at the ability for an edge node to connect up to our cloud solution right now, mostly in the unclassified arena. We are using GovCloud as our service provider right now, but the intent would be to have an agnostic edge node capability that connects up to any cloud host that we could then use to extend out our capabilities. So, and right now we do have a virtualization system. We use VMware for our current virtualization. We use Pivotal Cloud Foundry as our container management solution. And we have a VDI solution as well, which we've been using VMware Horizon.
Has Kessel Run successfully transitioned any SBIR phase 1 to phase 2 or phase 3? The SBIRs that Kessel Run has awarded to date are still in phase 1. So I would say it's too early to answer if we've awarded any phase 2 or phase 3. The phase 1s have not, they're not yet at the end of their natural run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and actually we have transitioned several phase 2s recently. So yeah. Okay. Can you participate in 2 technology areas? I don't know the answer to this. How many submissions can they make?
I don't know the answer offhand either. If Katie can hear us, is this something you ran into on Air Force Pitch Day? And if you did, do you happen to know the answer off the top of your head?
So companies were able to submit multiple proposals, but only one.
Looks like she's trying to talk.
Oh, and
sorry, Katie, we can hear you. That was our bad.
okay. So for Air Force Pitch Day, companies, we had a handful of companies that submitted multiple proposals. There's nothing to prohibit you from doing that. The likelihood of getting selected for both of those, not the greatest, but there is nothing to prohibit you from submitting proposals for multiple areas.
Thank you.
Is that, I don't know if you can answer, can an application address multiple topics at the same time?
So your proposal has to be for a specific topic. So if you are interested in 2, you get the 5 pages for the technical volume for topic A, and then you'd have an additional 5 pages for topic B. You also, when you go into the proposal submission portal in the DoD SBIR phase, you have to enter your cost proposal as well, and the cost would have to be specific for topic A and specific then for topic B. And that's because you might be invited to come pitch on topic A and not for topic B, or vice versa. So the proposals have to be specific to one topic, but you may submit proposals for more than one topic. All right, this question up here, do you know what that means? Do you have to be 100-171 to participate? No?
I don't know what that is.
So Peter, if you hear us, can you please clarify your question? Do you have to be 800-171 to participate? And I know you can't do it verbally, so if you can just ask another question with more information, we will get down to it. All right. Will Kessel Run coordinate successful SBIR phase 1 efforts with a widened Air Force DoD sponsor market within the PM PEO domains? I mean, that's, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but I think we're doing that right now. This SBIR phase 1 effort is through the DoD 19.2 listing. So this is a DoD wide effort right now. These topics are the topics that are Kessel Run specific.
Is this, I wonder if this is a question regarding whether or not we actually allow other organizations, PMs, PEOs, to award like a phase 2, let's say. I think the answer is yes. Once you've received a phase 1 award, you are eligible for a phase 2 regardless of the source. It doesn't have to come from the same source again. So you have an opportunity to be able to, tout the fact that you have a phase 1 SBIR with the U.S. Air Force Kessel Run, and use that to your greatest extent within the DoD as well if you want to widen your DoD market. And then you're eligible for a phase 2.
But so the intent for these topics though is that these are technology areas that are important to Kessel Run right now. So we're not doing this with the intent of shopping out for phase 2.
Yeah.
But what Matt said's correct. Anyone else could pick you up for the phase 2 if Kessel Run doesn't.
Correct.
So here's more information on this. I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah. DoD 800-171 compliance for government contractors on December 30th, 2015. U.S. Department of Defense published a 3-page interim rule to the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation supplement that gives government contractors a deadline of December 31st, 2017 to implement the requirements of the National Institute of Standards and Technologies Special Publication 800-171. I'm not familiar with it. We're going to have to get back to you on that one. So we'll do a little research and try to figure out whether or not that is something we need to talk about. You mentioned the solution is not limited to these 3 areas. Can you elaborate more? Thank you. I think we did elaborate on that. So the intent is this is a specific data call for 3 particular areas, but in the future we do feel that we'll probably be doing some more open, which allows for any submission whatsoever. And then we'll select technologies that are pertinent to Kessel Run. Keep in mind that we are an organization that has a specific goal, and the goal would be to be able to deliver software in the best way that we can. So, you know, we probably won't be buying robotics anytime soon. So, unless the robotics make software.
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty cool.
All right. To clarify, that last slide, in reading the Air Force 192.005 topic language, is it required to identify the specific stakeholders as part of the phase 1 proposal, or is the intention that you will identify those stakeholders as part of the phase 1 process during those 3 months? I don't want to speak for you, but the stakeholder is the Kessel Run user. So anyone that is the user of Kessel Run software is the stakeholder for these topics. Is that capture it?
And I believe that, you know, the answer is, yeah, we are the stakeholders in this. So if we are satisfied with the technologies, our goal would be to transition those technologies to Kessel Run. I don't think that one's the one that we need to answer. Is cross-domain an interest? The answer is yes. We feel that falls within the security call on this. So if you have a unique cross-domain solution that you want to bring to us, that's fantastic.
All right. Is a direct to phase 2 award possible at pitch day, or just a SBIR phase 1 award? So we are participating in just the SBIR phase 1 award. I know there is another Air Force call out there for direct to SBIR phase 2. That's not what Kessel Run's participating in right now. So for this current pitch day in July, it will only be for SBIR phase 1. All right. Are you interested in tools that help facilitate collaboration and traceability in collaborative projects between KR, other contractors, et cetera? If so, can you give us any examples or insight into how KR collaborates with other teams?
I think the answer is yes. I'm not certain which data call this would go out under, maybe as a service. But yes, I mean, we are always looking to ensure that we have good collaborative capabilities. I'm not certain I understand with other teams, whether or not that's other teams with Kessel Run or whether or not that's at the warfighter level between, you know, warfighters and units, other units. So if you want to throw something in there to clarify that question, that'd be awesome.
All right. Product market fit requires a good understanding of the customer need. Will additional information be provided with the solicitation? So the special topics are out there. There is no plan right now to revise that to provide any other information. We can certainly talk to stakeholder interests more right now in these AMAs. That's kind of the intent of these, is to answer any of those questions that you have. So if you have any more specific questions about the need or the stakeholder requirements or whatnot, we'd be happy to discuss those right now. Or if you want to add more onto your question, we can talk to the specific points as well.
Can Kessel Run reveal anything about version control and CI/CD systems? Are tools like GitLab or the Atlassian suite, Jira, Bitbucket used? The answer is yes, we can. So we are using GitLab, and we use Concourse as our CI tool. And then we've got a series of scans that occur especially from a security and a versioning perspective through a controlled pipeline for security and configuration management.
Regarding COTS tools, do they need to have certification or be on the Air Force APL currently to qualify?
Good question.
So we're not looking for any MVPs to be comprised of only COTS tools.
True. If it is something that's on the APL, let's say you have a subset of capabilities within your capability, or you rely upon an existing COTS tool and it already hits on the APL, bonus. But if you're actually doing, straight up development, depending on how you're actually doing the development, you could potentially get an ATO through our own pipeline. So it isn't uncommon for us to actually pass non-warfighter based capabilities through the pipeline to be able to get an authority to operate in the SIPR environment.
All right, this one's been upvoted. Is the monitoring services in the enterprise also low bandwidth monitoring?
Good question. Yes, it is, but I'm not certain I fully understand the question. So we do bandwidth monitoring, but I'm not certain if I understand what the low bandwidth monitoring.
Do you think this next question is related?
For Edge as a service, do proposers have to consider development implications of low bandwidth environments, like dealing with special delayed networking protocols, or are proposed software solutions assumed to be appropriately abstracted from the lower level networking stack? That is a great question. I don't necessarily have a great answer for that at the moment, because this is part of, I think, what an Edge node provider or Edge solution provider would actually have to help us with. But the answer is yes. I think the assumption would be that we should always assume that we're in a low bandwidth environment, especially for Edge nodes that are necessarily at the edge of SIPR, let's say, or are connected up some other way, and tunneling through, unclassified domains. So yes, the answer is yes, but I'm not certain whether or not abstracting it from the lower level networking stack is super important. Is FedRAMP certification to IL4 a desired attribute of any proposed solution? So I don't think that Edge nodes fall underneath FedRAMP certification. I do know that folks like AWS provide, Edge nodes that are attached to a FedRAMP certified IL4 environment. GovCloud, I believe, is IL4/IL5. So bonus if it is. I don't necessarily think that it has to be.
Okay. What are you looking for in the application, e.g. more technical use case, business model focused? So the DoD SBIR 19.2 release website actually, while it is a little bit of a lengthy document, it does break out the different volumes of the proposal and what needs to be in each areas of those proposal. So for the technical volume, you only have 5 pages to tell us about your proposed solution. I would say that is more on the side of the technical and the use case and not so much on the business model. There are some documents you have to submit about the commerciality of your product that would probably touch more on what I would otherwise classify as a business model. And then you also have to include in your proposal a separate cost volume, which breaks out more of the numbers that would be traditionally in a business model. Again, it's the DoD SBIR 19.2 release document. I think it's about 40 pages, and within there, it breaks down exactly what needs to be in your proposal. So if you take a closer look at that, it will help guide you with what to put in. And there's also even a little checklist to make sure that you're submitting everything so that your proposal can be eligible for even being reviewed in the first place.
I don't know which one you just did. Following up on what was mentioned earlier, the 3 challenges: security tools and services, Edge as a service, and enterprise platform tools. This is all part of the same topic, right? So if you have a solution that fits more than one challenge area, we can submit one proposal that addresses them. The earlier question was for multiple topics.
Do you want me to take them?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So the DoD SBIR 19.2 has agency-specific announcements as well. So within the Air Force announcement, Kessel Run is a topic area. It's can't remember the topic number 5 in the Air Force announcement. So within the Kessel Run topic, there are the 3 areas: the Edge as a service, security tools and services, and enterprise platform tools. If you are interested in more than one of those topics, you would have to submit more than one proposal. Each of those would be evaluated individually.
What was the pitch versus actual phase 1 selection ratio?
So Kessel Run has not done their own pitch day before. This is the first Kessel Run only pitch day. For the Air Force pitch day event, I only have insight into what our personnel worked on. I don't know what the actual Air Force numbers were, but for what our team worked on, of the companies, there was 20 companies invited and 16 received SBIR Phase 1 awards. But again, that was a very small subset of Air Force pitch day because that was just what I had insight into with our personnel.
Yeah. That wasn't the total number of actual submissions though too. So it's kind of
Right.
graded that like you put in your submission, it's reviewed, then there's an offer to come in
Right.
and actually do the pitch. And of the people who were offered to come in to pitch, 16 out of 20
Right.
were awarded last time.
And they started with over 100 proposals, and of those greater than 120 were invited to pitch day. Katie is on the line as well. She was at Air Force pitch day. Katie, I don't know if you have any statistics over how many SBIR Phase 1 awards were actually made against how many made pitches. If you don't, that's okay.
How many companies were invited to pitch day received an award?
Right.
So 60, there were 59 companies that were invited to pitch day. And there was just about, I want to say like 50 awards made.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we need to hit any of the answered questions that maybe Ann has been going through?
All right, so while we go through and just double check, make sure that we've gotten all these answered. If you have any other lingering questions, please let us know.
So I'm just going to repeat these here. What hardware platforms or operating systems are the primary target under this topic? And there was a post answer to that. We are interested in all hardware platforms and all operating systems, especially with Windows and Linux environments. For mentions of cloud, does Kessel Run intend to utilize commercially provided cloud, DoD provided cloud, and/or self-managed virtualized environments? And the answer was Kessel Run can utilize DoD approved cloud environments like AWS GovCloud and others that become FedRAMP approved. Do you want to do the next one?
This one?
Yeah.
Are you looking for COT solutions to use or companies to partner with to develop a solution? So we are open to COT solutions or partners to solve the problems from the domains of this pitch day. Just something to keep in mind is we are looking for something to be developed and for an MVP to be delivered. So we are not looking for a pre-existing complete COTS solution. This is for new development.
Or resellers of existing capabilities.
Exactly.
Yep. Will this brief be made available at the end of the AMA?
We're going to put as much of the information as we can onto our website.
Yep.
Oh, we've gotten some new questions in the meantime.
That might be why those ones are there. Does Kessel Run work with a common application stack? For example, React with Ruby on Rails or PostgreSQL? Or are there a lot of different projects with varying software stacks? Some might be Python-based, others all JavaScript, etc. So we do have a limited number of application stacks that we actually do work with. We do React. We will do PostgreSQL, mostly JavaScript front ends, Java backends for our web applications. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything more to that one.
So it looks like a clarifying question. So for the companies invited to pitch day, there's 59 pitches that were given, and then 50 were about 50 were selected for SBIR Phase 1 awards. So 50, not 15.
If invited to pitch day, is there an expectation for additional information to be provided beyond the initial proposal, or are you limited to the initial proposal?
So you are limited to your initial proposal. So you have your 5-page technical proposal and your 15-slide pitch deck, and that is it. So this is partly why we're holding an additional Ask Me Anything with the companies that are invited to pitch day, to go over more of these logistics. But you will have 5 minutes to give your pitch with that pitch deck that is not to exceed 15 slides. There will be a question and answer period after that, but 15 slides, 5 minutes is what you initially get.
How many total awards are you anticipating on pitch day? One per field or as merited?
As merited and as budget permits. So tentatively, we're looking at inviting between 10 and 20 to pitch day, depending on merit of the proposals. And then, yeah, awarding for the ones that fit the requirements of our topics the best.
To clarify, Java is the only option for backends. What about .NET or Web API? .NET Core is supported on Linux, if that makes a difference. Oh, no, we've done like Node.js. We've done some others as well. Python is definitely in too if we want to do that. It is limited only because our continuous ATO is predicated on the ability to actually do code scanning in our CI pipeline. So the more that gets added to that, the harder it is for us to be able to develop locked down continuous integration pipelines with the appropriate guardrails in place to be able to understand whether or not we've met our continuous ATO marks. So there is a limit, but there's definitely room to have conversations about other things.
I think the next one's technical as well. What tools are you using for security compliance? Does Kessel Run work with OpenSCAT?
Good question. Maybe I'll look over at my security person to see whether or not that there's an answer for that one. No, we don't use OpenSCAT. No. So we do security scanning using Fortify and SonarQube, and we use ThreadFix typically as our single pane of glass from our pipelines. Although we're looking at other code scanning capabilities if that's what you wanted to bring forward. Let's see. Edge as a service. Oh, I think we
talked about that one. We just didn't mark it off. And then this other one that we need to research.
Yeah. Oh, and maybe we did Edge. Oh, sorry. Low bandwidth environments. Was that added in? Edge as a service. Are low bandwidth environments also assumed to be intermittent in this context? And are there any comm radio technologies other than standard Ethernet, Wi-Fi that are in use or are interested in using? Is mobile-focused tech, Bluetooth, Zigbee, et cetera, in scope? No, right now we are not looking at Bluetooth technologies, but we do have other comm paths. We do have radio technologies, satellite technologies that we actually do connect up with, typically right now through fiber connection. But we are looking at Wi-Fi.
Are software tooling APIs openly available?
Probably not, at least at this time. But if you get an award, then technically yes. But we can't just share out that information.
All right. Anything? Any other? Oh, there we go.
Bump on previous question, you had asked me to clarify. You mentioned you're using GitLab. Do you use this for code development with people at other organizations, prime contractors, et cetera? If so, do you have any challenges here you'd like solved? Actually, we do do that.
What is that?
But we
topic of anything here?
It is not. So securing GitLab would probably be a topic because it was one of the ones that was called out, security. And we do that, but we typically manage our own GitLab, and then we meter out services based on LDAP accounts for access to it. But we are looking at ways of locking down GitLab. But the idea of collaborating with contractors in other space from a third-party perspective and being able to put in software code into our own GitLab is definitely within scope of the security topic.
All right, we got a few more. What type of government data rights are anticipated to be granted via the SBIR process? So we're not looking to change what rights you get through the normal SBIR Phase 1 award. So just the government purpose rights. Don't want to misspeak and say it the wrong way, but government purpose rights for 5 years, transitioning to unlimited rights after that. This will be one question I'll make sure to get on the website with the full legal answer, but we are not looking to stray from the regular SBIR process and the SBIR data rights.
What feedback is given to those not selected for pitch day or not selected for award?
So anyone, including companies that do actually get invited, can request a debriefing. And so we will provide you with information as to what strengths and weaknesses were in your proposal so that you can improve on your next SBIR submission. All right, so if you have any other questions over the next couple of days, please feel free to email us at pitchday@kr.af.mil. And also feel free to join us at our next Ask Me Anything next week on Wednesday at noon Eastern time. We'll get the new registration link up on our website in the next day or two here. We have a few minutes and we did get one question that we can probably answer, squeeze it in. Is Kessel Run also using CRADA process for partnering? That's not something we're doing right now. So it's not to say that we wouldn't ever do it in the future. It's just not something that we're actively doing now. And I think it's safe to say it's not in our short-term plans.
Cool.
So, all right. Again, yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at that pitchday@Kessel Run email address. And if not, you can feel free to join us next week on Wednesday for another AMA. And that's it.
Don't forget to send in your questions early.
Yep.
We'll get them into the question stack, especially if we end up with a lot more people on the line the next time. So cool. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.